of you to come up for the next session. So we have Michael Davis, Laszlo McCarty, Leonardo,
Oh, you're here.
Erasmo Carrera, Herbert Camiro, and
Yeah. I didn't see you. Where you were? You're here since the beginning?
No, I arrived yesterday.
I see.
Okay.
so I know we have several of you actually have some presentations and PowerPoints, so maybe we can try to figure out the order here. So how do we start? Michael, I guess why don't we start with you? Start at the far end for you. If you want to kick us off, please. Michael Davis from Australia, from Andy Thomas Space Foundation, and of course in 2017, Australia hosted the 68th IAC in Adelaide, which was a tremendous success. And so we're pleased to have them back as a candidate for hosting again. Michael.
Thank you very much, Pai. And may I say congratulations not only on your fantastically successful recent missions, but for your most generous donation to the IAF in a cause which is very close to our hearts. So I really wanted to acknowledge that. 3 years ago, I was invited to speak to this summit, and I was asked to talk about the essential elements for a successful Congress. And just to remind you, especially those of you who were here 3 years ago, it was in Bremen, the first one was commitment and long-term planning. The second one was strong host government and sponsor support. The third one was dedicated and professional event planning and management personnel working as a united team. And the fourth one was a clear understanding of the IAF's requirements and close cooperation with the IAF leadership and staff. The focus of this panel discussion is on innovation and adapting to the new normal. The world has changed a lot since 2018, but my argument, and I believe very sincerely, that the essential elements for a successful Congress have not. They're still the same. What has changed is the level of risk for organisers of major international events, such as the IAC, and a sense of uncertainty about travel and attendance at events such as this. However, our view is that there will be a bounce back as part of that new normal. And there is a pent-up demand, and the news we had today that there will be more than 4,000 delegates at this event, I think is proof of that. The pent-up demand will result in a surge of attendance at important international events such as this. In the new normal, the COVID pandemic will continue to be a major consideration for years to come. So the question obviously arises, why would a team such as ours make the decision to bid again to host an IAC given all of these circumstances? And there are 4 reasons. The first is that we believe that in-person international meetings will continue to be a vital medium for the transfer of knowledge. And I think from everything I've heard today, we can all agree on that. Secondly, we have made an assumption that virtual meeting technology will play an increasingly important role in engaging a wider audience. And in our case, a wider audience is not just our friends and colleagues around the world working in this sector, but it also includes children especially school children. And tomorrow, when we present our bid to the General Assembly, we'll explain exactly what we have in mind. The third is the experience and lessons learned from hosting a previous IAC is really important. And so for many people who have said, why bid again so soon after the previous one? The obvious answer is the knowledge and experience is retained and able to be applied to another event. And finally, there's the conviction that we have the capability, experience, and an appealing destination. We also have considerable experience in organising national space conferences. And the event that we're responsible for is called the Australian Space Forum, and it's held every 6 months with a national focus, but with international speakers. And we've held 3 of these events during the pandemic, and each of them has been welcomed and well attended by those who were able to get to the venue. For those who were not able to get to the venue, there was the virtual element of the event. And so we firmly believe that future events will involve a combination of both. The other thing that we have now realised is that the economics of conducting events such as this is slightly riskier than it was in the past, and the potential to make a large surplus is less. And we understand the IAF's approach to this, and we understand the reason why the IAF needs to be protected financially as much as we can. So we're not so focused on the financial result. Whatever the financial result, the main motivation for any host in the post-COVID world should be to advance the cause of space and to show that with courage and wise decisions, our global space mission will benefit the human condition and enable the space race to continue discovery. This leads me to pose a final question that has no doubt occurred to all of my colleagues on the panel. And the question is, why commit to the incredible effort involved in hosting an event like the IAC? And I'm sure there's many of you in the audience who are also asking yourself the same question. I can speak as both a bidder and a host. One of the greatest successes of the 2017 IAC in Adelaide, one of our prime motivations for bidding this time was not the number of delegates that we expect to attend, nor how well the destination will be received, although in our case, both of these parameters were very pleasing. The real value of the event was the impact it had on our community. And as many of you know, the Congress was actually the catalyst for the decision by our national government to establish a national space agency. And the increase in activity, investment, and general expansion in space activity in our country over the past 4 years has been amazing. So the answer I leave you with is as follows. We must continue to adapt and innovate and make extra efforts to ensure that major international meetings are a key instrument of international cooperation and progress in space. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and it was indeed a tremendous event. I know we all, leading up to that event, thought it's a long ways away. Will people come? Will they get there? And it was a huge success, really, from numbers standpoint all the way through, and just very well done job hosting previously. So I'm going to stick with the alphabetical order. So let's go with Budapest next. Laszlo Baxardi, please.
good. Congratulations. Cris. Agora. Obrigado.
Thank you, Kay, and thank you for the opportunity to speaking about the Hungarian perspective, how we will adapt to the new normal and the post-pandemic world needs. And I'm really happy that I can see many faces in this room. The last time when Hungary was hosting the IAC was back in 1983. At that time, the IAC Hosts Summit did not exist. So when we came out with the idea that we would like to host an IAC in the not so far future, we started to attend the IAC Hosts Summit, and we started to discuss with previous host organizations and to get the lessons learned that they had. So this is a really good event to get the knowledge that is needed for a successful proposal. I'm speaking on behalf of the Hungarian Astronomical Society. However, I'm representing here a team of different consortium members. It was mentioned during the previous panel discussions that flexibility is a must for a successful event. So we have our PCO on board inside our consortium, as well we have our main venue in our board as well. So we, as a Hungarian team, could be really flexible since our consortium is a flexible one. But since we are talking about the adaptation to the new normal, I would like to share with you a video which was published last April, at the same time when I received an email from Christian that IAC will correspond to 2021. And this is how the start of the COVID pandemic looks like in
A kötve száll én csendben figyelem, telik az idő, de nem késő még talán. Bár még a vártnál jobban keresek tereket a kultos kintemelő.
everything is empty due to the pandemic.
Ismerős a táj, hallom hangotot. Visszajön élet személy, az eső, ha elfújja az ég, minden van kép. Megadom, hogy történtettél, csak az kell, hogy jó legyél, hogyha mindig itt legyél. Vigyázzunk egymásra, és sikerült.
It was published by the Hungarian government. It's take care of yourself, be at home. And we are really happy that the pandemic seems to be over in some way. I mean, we are here for in-person meetings, and in Hungary, we are looking forward to welcome everyone in person at the IAC 24. So, just some thoughts, the words about after the pandemic. I definitely agree with Christian and with all of the panelists before, as well as our colleagues from the different hosts, that in-person meetings are really important. We are really happy that we can meet in person again after 1.5 year. And right we see that the hiring standards will become higher and higher as afterward of the pandemic. We need to prepare somehow for the virtual experience as well. It was mentioned in the previous panel, as well, and I heard that we used to live together with Microsoft Zoom, Teams, and other tools. So we have this experience behind us. So using of digital tools for preparation for the delegates for a congress might be a good occasion, as well as using digital tools online. And the last thing that I would like to mention is supporting the sustainability. And all of us have the mask. Some masks can be reused, some is just for only one time. After that, we will just throw away and we will use another one. So if we think what impact our masks and our new hygienic standards have to our Earth, this is a thing which needs to be considered. Of course, life is the first line, so we need to save ourselves, we need to save our community. But I believe that we need to find something out how we can support really as an event organizer the sustainability. So this is why in Hungary we would like to provide free public transportation to everyone who will attend the Congress, as well free electrical buses that will be there to transport the delegates of the Congress, because we would like to support the sustainability. So this is just a few thoughts from the Hungarian perspective, and tomorrow at the General Assembly I will be there to speak more about our proposal. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Laszlo. It's nice to see you back from 1983. Wow, that was some time ago. So next, I'm going to ask Erasmo Carrera to represent Milan, the hosting a team with the Italian Association of Aeronautics and Astronautics, the Italian Space Agency, ASI, and Leonardo.
So thank you very much, Clay. So I'm really happy to be here, with the other leaders. So it's nice to see also, I was wondering if Michael could be here. So nice to see you, because I know that some friends in Australia, they could not move. So, of course, we are not going to present the candidacy of Milan now. We are talking about COVID and the new normal. But if we are going to present our bid and to say why we have to come to Milano, we talk about logistics of the city, the heritage of the city concerning, industry and education is one of the best places in Italy from this point of view. But, Milano was in 2020, in February 2020, I think everyone knows that it was the first place in the world after one where the COVID starts. And it was in February, and we see this red points are the cases. So, yeah, behind one red points, there is one guy, one people, and so they were really growing up in a very incredible way. And you see this picture on the right, in which you have this line of trucks for the army, because after 4 weeks, we had so many dead people, and we didn't know where to put them. So the army took dead people. So this was really, this was also in the area of Bergamo, which is now one of the safest places in the world. Everyone is vaccinated, that mostly more than 90% of the people is vaccinated there, except the very young one under 12. So, so that we learned about some, words. After that, we have to stay home, quarantine, to work remote, online, and we had to buy, some tools to work with the others. So everyone was changing. But if we talk about how we do have to adapt the conference to this new normal, I think this morning we had very good presentation by every one of you, also by Christian. He has showed some very good example of what we can do. Of course, we are the one that are presenting a bid, but we have also professionals working with us, PCO, a convention center, because this is a business for them. They are working a lot on that. They can give some tips to us, and we are working on this kind of things, how to make this new event attractive, how to do this, in the right way, what are the motivation to do this, and so on. I don't want to spend much time on these slides, because I think most of the things have been known, and we have an example of success, as was the GLEX in St. Petersburg. So we can adapt our event to this new normality, which is changing every time. No one, what is going to be 2024? I was not in St. Petersburg because there were only the astronauts, right? We only have one astronaut here, so we are all astronauts. Today we are brave. Because after 3 months now we could travel. In St. Petersburg it was impossible because of the quarantine rule. Yeah, but the event was extremely successful and so on. So concerning the adaptation, there are some tools you have to get to be familiar. Optimizing platform, prevent troubleshooting, encouraging engagement, pre-record events. These are some words we learn. But you can have also some advantages because you can put the cost lower, wider audience, and the data gathering and adaptability, because if everything is changing by remote, you can do this easy. But I want to just to put you the experience of our association. As AIF, AIDA is a non-profit association. It's association made by, passionate of aeronautics and astronautics. So we had a meeting regularly, and we use this slide every time, to say that we had to fight against COVID inside of our organization. And we are astronautics and aeronautics, so you can have aircraft and missiles to fight against the COVID. So, but what we do, our association was founded in 1920, so almost one century ago, and we had to celebrate our centennial. And so to do this, we went back to the documents, to the minutes of the meeting that the early people of association made. And we really find by reading these minutes that we are almost at the same time, because this was after the First World War. So they had to change, everything. And so you have to go to your roots. As we say that one of the main, thing of AIF, AIC is connecting people. But when was funded, people was mostly thinking about peace, because at that time, peace was a problem. When we presented here in Bremen our bid to host the AIC in Venice, we went to another motto, was ab alto ad altum. We also use Latin as it is in the AIF motto, and there was no COVID there, so we could look, from higher to even higher. And now we have responsible space for sustainability, because the situation is really different. So we have to look at this. And I just want to tell you that, by looking at our roots, our motivation, so we were able to do so many things inside the association. We have put the association in a different formal way. It is a non-profit association. We have made an application to host ICAS in Florence, and we got it. And we made an academy, and we increased the number of associates by factor 3. And also the annual conference, biannual conference, increased the registration of 30%. And because of the possibility to lower the cost, we had really a very good income. And we also introduced new chapter of the association. And we got also proposed 2 colleagues, member of AIDA, as the presidency of the CEAS and the executive secretary of the CEAS. And we are applying for hosting the AIC. And you see this 3G. 3G are not something you have, to say you are forced to use. But that 3G for us were just as an output, because the new registration were most young people. We increased the number of female. We had a few women as associates. We increased the number really tremendously. And of course also geographic, because by including other people. This is normal. When you have, in a difficult time, you have to try to use everything. So our tips are, never give up. Possibly use 3G to get some help. Never be completely satisfied with what you are doing. Check continuously how the others are looking at your event. Ask yourself what is important in your event and why you are making it. And use the answer to the previous questions as a gasoline or fuel for your next actions. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Erasmo. So next up, Sao Paulo, Herbert. The minister, excuse me, I apologize.
No problem.
I apologize.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank you very much for this invitation, being here to talk a little bit about the effects of the pandemics and how that will affect the future, the near future in Brazil, in other countries, by the way. Congratulations for the meeting. Congratulations for all the organizers of this meeting. Now, the first thing that I'd like to call your attention is this word, astronautical, in the middle of the name here. When I think about astronauticals, many things come to my mind. By the way, I'm an astronaut from NASA 1998 class, and I'm also the Minister of Science, Technology, and Innovations in Brazil. So I'm part of the government. First thing that comes to my mind when I think about astronautical is resilience, like we said in the beginning, determination, persistence, and also union. We have to work to work as one. So teamwork is really important, the union of people. And the management, we are always thinking about the scenario, about the predictions of the future to make good decisions. So when the pandemic hit Brazil and other the countries last year, actually was in March 11th, 2020. So 1 month before in Brazil, I assembled a group of scientists. It's called Rede Virus, which is a network of specialists in viruses. So they were the ones that gave us all the strategies in the scope of the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovations, and how to fight, what we should do to develop better tools for pandemics in Brazil. And that was a very good decision at that time. Actually, they work with us since then, and they continuously give us ideas, and they give us suggestions and structures for us to work there. So that was the first important point. And then we have to learn. I worked almost 30 years of my life doing flight safety, so prevention, investigation of accidents. One thing that we have to take from this is lessons learned about any event that we have in life. And so many things we derive from those lessons that will help us to have a very good event in São Paulo in 2024. First of all, let's think about those cases that we had last year. First thing that we realized was we're not prepared for the pandemic. Pretty much most of the countries, we're not prepared for that pandemic. So we had difficulties importing things. For example, equipment for ventilators is one of the problems. Diagnostic tests, vaccines, and all these items. So local production is one of the first learned lessons about this. We have to develop local production. Also, we had to adapt the way we do meetings. So virtual meetings was pretty much the same. Everybody talked about this here. But also, it's good to pay attention about education. So how to continue with education. So distant education, remote education was really important. So at that time, I was also the Minister of Communications in Brazil. We established a stable network to be able to connect everything, and also to bring education, bring classes through the TV, normal TV channels, in digital TV. We kind of separate the channels. We have a multi-programming channels there. So, but for events like this, big events, it's good to have, face-to-face. Most of the things we ended up deciding in the coffee break. So it's important to have this person-to-person contact. So we have to do like a mix. What I can tell about the infrastructure in Brazil, of course, São Paulo is one of the biggest cities in the world. We have a huge infrastructure in there. So we have venues, like a great venue to have the event. We have hotels, we have everything. But some of the things got better from the pandemic. We learned a lot of lessons. So let me say some of them. Communication in Brazil is much better now. When I was the Minister of Communications, I started a program to connect the entire country. When we think about Brazil, the size of Brazil, you see that's not easy to connect the entire country. But we now have a system going on, the fiber optics, satellites connecting, including the Amazon, 22 million living in the Amazon. By the way, Brazil has 210 million people population. It's a huge population. And we have more than 50% of the entire population already vaccinated, and numbers are going drastically down, which is really good. In São Paulo, for example, we have more than 70% of the people completely vaccinated, and this number is going to increase to 100%, hopefully, by the end of this year, no problem. But also industry, we have the industry prepared now to build, to design and build systems necessary, not for this pandemic, but for the next pandemics as well, because we have to be prepared for the next pandemics. That's the reason I said 30 years working with flight safety, we have to be prepared for the next pandemics. And 2024, we can think, well, okay, the pandemic will be lower at that time, but we have to be careful. We have to use the lessons learned by this one here. We have an improved network of labs. We work in Brazil with a high level in biosecurity. We are also building a biosecurity 4 level there. We are now we are able to have medications designed and built in Brazil. So this is a good thing as well. Also, vaccines. Next year, Brazil will be independent in terms of vaccines. We don't need import vaccines anymore. We are able to build our own vaccines. We have 15 new technologies of vaccines, a center dedicated to build vaccines there and to build all the ingredients in Brazil. So by next year, we have all the system in place to build vaccines very quickly for the next pandemics there. So this is another important point as well. Diagnostic tests built in Brazil, 100% in Brazil. So we have all the system in place. We created a program like a shield program for the next pandemics there. So we'll be prepared for the next pandemics. Hopefully, we are not going to have another pandemic until 2024, but we'll be prepared for any kind of a situation that we can have. Also, we have improved professional network of scientists who work all over Brazil, and they will give us for this event, they're going to give us all the directions and the strategies to treat whatever situation we have and whatever situation we have at that time. In terms of economy, we noticed the importance of startups. So we have an increased network of startups in Brazil, and they will be very participating in this event there. Make sure São Paulo is the biggest city in Brazil, is the heart of the business in Brazil. So it's a place that we can make a lot of connections, a lot of business with all the companies there. Also, we have derived a new structure of financing from research to products. So this will help a lot. I don't want to extend here too much. So finally, I just want to say about the 3Gs there. As an astronaut, my friend here, Pedro Duque, knows very well about this. We talk a lot with the universities, with the kids in schools, and we see how important is space for bringing more of the new generation into this sector. Also, we just had this week the Space for Women. Brazil is a very great support of this initiative with the United Nations, with UNUSA, and also, if you think about geography, South America is a new frontier for business, for many things, and Brazil is in the verge of changing everything in terms of business there. So we are going at the environment for business in Brazil. So it's a really good place for having this 3Gs working together. We have several actions, several initiatives for bringing kids, bringing old to young guys, and also genders, and geography there is wonderful, as you can imagine, and we can connect everybody in the country. So pandemic for sure was a big hit in everybody, for every country. In Brazil, we took it really seriously, and we are now uh, very well prepared after the pandemic. So things are going better, and we continue to work with this pandemic, of course, to zero everything, but also prepared for the next one. And lastly, remember, I'm the government, and I'm the ministry responsible for the space policies in Brazil, and I completely support the IAC in Brazil in 2024. So you can count on the government, you can count on the federal level, state level, city level, and for sure that will help a lot this event to help them. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Minister.
No, thank you.
Appreciate those remarks. It's hard to believe that we were in Rio in 2000.
Yeah.
A
Long time ago.
in Brazil. But thank you for your remarks. So our final host candidate is Pedro Duque from the Instituto Nacional de Técnica Aeroespacial. Please.
So you want me to stand up, maybe?
As you wish.
But it doesn't matter. So, good morning to everybody here. Even though we went a little bit off focus, the whole thing here was to have a dialogue between the different host countries about how do we adapt, how should we adapt to the new normal and everything. First of all, we should adapt obviously with science. We are the space program. This is just one more hazard. It was a little bit difficult because we didn't have the right science, but now I think we do. So I think that by using science, for example, detector for CO2 levels, then we can already start thinking about whether the room is good for how many people, with masks, without masks. We implemented that. But I was the minister also until July when I left my political career, like Marcos is already in there, is still in there. I already implemented this in the ministry in April 2020 with more intense renovation of air. That's very, very important. So we are the space program. We should force everybody, including the venues, to use all sorts of the newest science in order to get the safety for the new normal and to make the new normal as possible. For example, for 2024, I think the new developments will already be there. Collins Aerospace is teaming with a Spanish company to develop a aerospace ventilation system that will detect viruses. And this I will keep following this in case that is possible to implement. One other thing that we have to work on in order to adapt the host organizations to the situation of the pandemic or the whatever future hazard there is very big flexibility in the organization and very well organized teams. We from Spain, we normally do not project that message because we sell a big percent of our GDP is sell
participate in space, and in particular to participate in the Astronautical Federation. So margins, flexibility, very professional organization, and science, and be on top of everything that science provides us to have the same company.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. K. I think it was, Valencia was 2006, huh? That was 50. Yeah.
Two more times.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the times that the conference was held in Spain was also at a very short notice.
Okay.
Because
So-
we organize things flexibly.
Sevilla is a beautiful city, one of my favorite in Europe. So, well, thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate the dialogue, all the input from everyone that was here this morning. Really appreciate it. We look forward to the bids this week. It's going to be a difficult choice, I think. We have five excellent host communities here. So, thank you very much for participating this morning. We appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Please join us all for the lunch, for the Host Summit lunch that will take place in the Bubble Lounge right now. I think you can move directly there now. We are a bit late, so go ahead. Thank you very much.
Sorry for that. I thought that I was just reading straight from my script. I knew it was you, but I'm just reading.